Okay, we're recording
So are
right
you
now.
gonna record the entire meeting?
I'm recording. No, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. Just this. Just this.
His talk. He's just going to record his talk.
But there's no opportunity for us to really.
Well, and he's gonna record the questions too.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Okay, chapter
He
5.
tried to get me to do that. I said, no go.
How it works.
Okay.
Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They're not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. And I'm going to skip a little bit in the reading. Many of us exclaim, "What an order, I can't go through with it." Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that if we are willing to grow along spiritual lines, the principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear three pertinent ideas. A, that we are alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if he were sought. Huge, absolutely huge. Alrighty, I'm going to jump into my story. My name is Rick. I'm a compulsive.
Rick, I got to introduce you.
Oh, go. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. This is Rick F. He's from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I think Rick we met about 4 years ago online. I've never met him in person, but we met. I think it was the Sunday night meeting. Wasn't it?
Yes.
the famous
The
Sunday
men's
night
meeting.
Neither one of us go to anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we met.
Yes.
And anyway, Rick was always trying to be helpful to me. He used to call me every day and offer me these wonderful suggestions. One of them was a wanted poster that he thought I should put up there, and then if people recorded me in front of the vending machine, he would then send a bounty of $10. Wasn't that?
Yes.
The
Yes.
one, Rick? And then
I still want to do that.
my favorite one though is he told me to take my favorite binge food and wrap it up in a Tupperware container with duct tape. Wrap it up really hard, and so that if I got really hungry, it'd take me a while to get in there. That one didn't work either.
Oh well.
So I think he has a sponsor, but one of the exciting things is Rick. That I was always curious is Rick. He was the first person I knew that had a woman sponsor. And his idea was 87% of the people in Overeaters Anonymous are women. So And I think when you first got abstinent in Knoxville, I think there wasn't any male sponsors. And so
There was
I think
zero.
So you asked Betty to be your sponsor, and Betty's been sponsoring him ever since. So
Yes.
anyway, he's just always been really helpful to me, and I think Betty must have gave him a suggestion to not call me anymore because he doesn't call me anymore. So anyway, with that, Rick, go ahead.
Yay. Yay. Thanks,
Agreeing
Michael.
to speak.
Thanks. My name is Rick. I'm a compulsive overeater. And by the grace,
Hi.
hi. And by the grace of God and the 12-step program of Overeaters Anonymous, I haven't found it necessary to have an eating binge for 3,205 days, one day at a time. For that, I'm very, very grateful. There are 4 things I need to do if I want to work this program. Number 1, I need to turn to God for help. Number 2, I have to work the steps of Overeaters Anonymous. Number 3, I have to be in the group Overeaters Anonymous. And number 4, under no circumstances do I touch my binge foods, my trigger foods, my alcoholic foods, whatever you want to call it. My peak occurred, I'm 71 now. My peak occurred back when I was 54 years old at 310 pounds. I will give 2 illustrations of my eating binges. I don't want to make this whole thing a binge-a-log. I'm there with a package of Oreo cookies, Oreo double stuffed cookies, 15-ounce package, like 2,100 calories, big glass of milk. I eat the first row of cookies and I start the second row and they don't taste good. And I keep eating those cookies. And then I'm halfway through the third row, which they don't taste good, and my stomach hurts and I finish the package. No normal eater would ever do that once. Something's not right up in this brain. If you get nothing else I say today, get the fact that something's not right. And then what did I do the next week when I went to the grocery store? I picked up another package of cookies and said, oh, next time I'll just have 2 or 3 and it'll be fine. But of course it wasn't. Once when I eat certain foods, I trigger an abnormal physical reaction to those foods that I can't stop. And if you don't have that problem, it might seem silly to you, but to me, it's very real. My other eating binges, and there's a bunch of them, but the other one, and this one makes me look even worse. I would eat a couple of those Fiber One food bars. Ooh, they taste good, yum. And they have the health halo. There's fiber in there, they're good for you. I'd eat 20 of them because I could not stop eating them. Now, if anyone's ever done something like that, what happens the next day? 12 trips to the bathroom to have a bowel movement. I wasn't aware there was that much stuff in the world. You have to live through this to experience it. But then what did I do the next week? When I was back to the grocery store, I bought several boxes of the Fiber One food bars and told myself foolishly, next time it'll be different. No normal eater would ever do that once, let alone be stupid enough to put all those boxes of cookies back into their buggy. Enough said about eating binges. You don't get to 310 pounds eating nutritious food. I was like a junkie. I needed the food to get me through. And I told myself almost every night, oh, I just need this tonight, but tomorrow I'll eat better and I'll get some exercise. But that went on for many, many, many years. Tomorrow never came. It was the mindless eating. And it's almost as if somebody else's hand is putting the food into my mouth. Because I couldn't stop. I like what it talks about in the doctor's opinion on page 28, that, this thinking never occurs to the average temperate drinker. The thoughts I have about food, normal eaters don't have those thoughts. And I became abstinent April the 9th, 2016 at our Saturday meeting. Lisa made the comment, the one woman running the meeting, that if you keep having an eating binge with that food, don't eat it. And the scales fell off my eyes and I realized I'm a compulsive overeater. There's certain foods which I just can't touch. Can't touch them. And I haven't had an eating binge since then. Like I said, I have 3,205 days of abstinence, 8 years, been a healthy body weight for 7 years. And I have a little app in my phone that tells me that I haven't spent $64,000 on junk food during those 8 years. I think that's good for my weight. I weighed this morning, I was 191 pounds. I weigh myself once a week. I report my weight to 4 different people: my sponsor, one of my sponsees, my daughter, and then a woman that used to care for my mother. I do have a sponsor. I call her at 7 o'clock in the morning, 5 days a week. We talk. She tells me what a good job I'm doing. Why can't my other sponsees be more like you, Rick? No, that's not what happens. But anyway. But I'd like, well, it's my story. And for me, the exercise is equal in importance to controlling what I eat. Because for me, the exercise, actually a few years ago, I had gone to that Hilton Head Health Institute, and I would still eat my junk food, and I made out fine because I could just get a bunch of exercise. But then I had a little pain in my knees, and I couldn't get as much exercise. And for like 3 years, I couldn't stop the eating binges until I came to the Overeaters Anonymous, and I don't touch my binge foods. I weigh and measure my food. I wear a little Fitbit job, keeps up with my steps. Lord willing, I'll get 10,000 steps today. I attempt to go to the gym 3 times a week. I've been twice this week, and I lift some weights. And when I went back to the place, that Hilton Head Health Institute in South Carolina, I'm reminded, I went there about 10 months ago or so. On page 164 of the big book, it says, "Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us." And that would definitely be true of me, because I went there thinking, well, I'm pretty smart and I'm probably doing a pretty good job. No, I wasn't. I didn't have enough fat in my diet. And the other thing was, I wasn't doing the high intensity interval training. And I since I've had my knees replaced about 4 months and 7 months ago, I'm not doing the high intensity interval training, but I'm doing what I can. I put forth the effort I can. But for me, it's very important not to ever get to the point where I think I have this thing figured out and I'm good and I'm smart. No, I'm just one of the beggars that comes to the Overeaters Anonymous trying to get a little bit of help. My 4 favorite books that I like is the book Alcoholics Anonymous, the AA 12 and 12, the book Living Sober, and the book As Bill Sees It. I like all the OA literature. I've never read any of it that I didn't like. I go to 2 meetings a week. My home group is the Cooksbury United Methodist Church meeting on Thursday at 5:30 in the afternoon, Eastern Time. None of these funny time zones, Eastern Time. And I have a YouTube channel. I put recovery stories on there. I put prayers on there. And when people visit our meeting, I'll send them a link to the recovery stories of several people that are actually at that meeting. And it's a good way to welcome the newcomers. Most days, not every day, but I'll listen to an AA recovery story. And I get one from recovery speakers every day. They don't charge me anything, but they send me a nice recovery story every day. And those are more motivating to me than the OA stories. I still listen to OA stories, but not as much. I do my prayers in the morning, and when I take my dogs on a walk after breakfast, I do my meditation, I make some outreach calls, and I attempt to make 3 outreach calls a day. And in general, my approach to my program is that I'm as serious as what's that?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Greg.
Oh, I thought it was a time call. But anyway,
No, it's not, Greg. You got
Okay.
plenty of time.
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
about that.
I'm as serious as a heart attack about my program. There's certain conversations I don't want to have with my doctor. I don't want my doctor to tell me, you got diabetes and you're blind now and we can't do anything about it. Or we're going to have to amputate your left foot because of your diabetes. I don't want to have that conversation with my doctor. And then Joe and Charlie talk about how the best drink is always the next drink. And that was definitely true for me. When I was eating my binge foods, it was the food I was eating, it was always the next one. Oh, the next one, that's going to do it. That's going to do it. And then very importantly, as I went on in my disease, the pleasure that I got from the food became less and less and less. And the amount that I ate became more and more and more. And I have literature, not OA approved, and it shows where they do brain scans on people, and your body will, when you're obese, your body actually does away with the dopamine receptors.
You want can somebody go talk to her?
Yeah.
All right. We have somebody showing up late to the meeting.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
They're not bothering me. It takes a lot to bother me, Michael. And she's welcome at this meeting even when she comes late. Otherwise, I'll call a group conscience and we'll let the group vote. It's also in the AA 12 and 12 that right thinking follows right action. Or maybe it's the OA 12 and 12. That's one of those. And then it is ridiculous to be too meticulous. And one of the highest forms of self-abuse is to be a perfectionist. Only people with problems come to our meetings. And then the other thing I've gotten used to in OA is people just disappear. They're people you like, and then boom, they're just gone. And I'm sorry they're gone. I want everybody that comes to our meetings to recover. But unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way. And I'll work with anybody. You know, I people, sponsees, you don't have to pass a certain test. You don't have to have an eating plan that's just like mine. You know, that's your deal. I make suggestions to people, but I never tell them they have to do something. And I do feel an obligation to pass on what has been freely given to me. Now, I do have friends in the OA program that I call regularly. Some of them have 20 years of abstinence, some 30, and some 40 years of abstinence. And I can assure you, when I talk to those people, I pay very close attention to what they tell me. The other thing to remember is that it's easier to change your environment than it is to change your mind. Now, my wife keeps certain binge foods around our house, but binge foods that would only be consumed by me, they don't come into my house. And the other thing is I make sure that I have adequate, nutritious food in my house at all times. I do heating and air, and I keep emergency foods with me all the time in the truck. Little containers of beef jerky, a couple cans of chili, fruit without added sugar, maybe some tuna, or sardines. Carry sardines. In fact, that's a good test to figure out whether you're hungry. If you're hungry and you're not sure whether you should eat something, ask yourself, would a can of sardines satisfy this hunger? And if you're not that hungry, then don't eat. The sardine test. I do follow the 24-hour plan. It's in the book Living Sober on page 6. And they talk in that book about how, in their experience, the people that are successful, they take care of today, what's going on right now. In the Bible, it says, take no thought for tomorrow. Each day has enough trouble of its own. In the Lord's Prayer, it says, give us this day our daily bread. And I hate to be sacrilegious. Had I written the prayer, I would have said, give me enough groceries for a week. But that's not what it says. It says, give us this day our daily bread. I like that book, Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers. And I want to read, and the other thing that I admire people in the program that don't quit. Now, some people, they come and they're successful, and that's great. But the people that come to one meeting and they're going, well, you know, it's kind of hard, more than I thought, and they're gone, I guess my opinion then really doesn't matter. But I wanted to read out of one of my favorite books, As Bill Sees It, on page 11. This is one of my favorite readings out of this book. It's called Quantity or Quality. About this slip business, I would not be too discouraged. I think you're suffering a great deal from needless guilt. For some reason or other, the Lord has laid out tougher paths for some of us, and I guess you're treading one of them. God is not asking us to be successful. He's only asking us to try to be. That you are surely doing and have been doing, so I would not stay away from AA through any feeling of discouragement or shame. It's just the place you should be. Why don't you try just as a member? You don't have to carry the whole AA on your back, you know. It's not always the quantity of good things that you do, it's also the quality that counts. Above all, take it one day at a time. And then I have a couple more readings. One of them is out of the book Alcoholics Anonymous. On page 18, the italicized writing, kind of at the bottom of the page. But the ex-problem drinker who has found the solution, who is properly armed with the facts about himself, can generally win the entire confidence of another alcoholic in a few hours. Until such an understanding is reached, little or nothing can be accomplished. And the people I see that come into this program and decide they're going to do it on their own, I don't see them usually recovering. I just, unless they work with somebody, because it's in my mind, it's too tough to do on your own. I certainly don't try it on my own. I need the group. I need my sponsor. I hope Betty doesn't decide to drop me. And then my other reading, which a lot of people know, whoops. Oh, I'm going to the wrong page. Oh, this is a third edition. I got goofed up. It's way back here on the third edition. It's the passage on acceptance. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I'm disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and in my attitudes. And then in the fourth edition on 419, says I can do the same thing with an AA meeting. The more I focus my mind on its defects.
Right.
Okay, thanks. I can do the same thing with an AA meeting. The more I focus my mind on its defects, the late start, the long drunkalogs, the cigarette smoke, the worse the meeting becomes. But when I try to see what I can add to the meeting, rather than what I can get out of it, when I focus my mind on what's good about it, rather than what's wrong with it, the meeting keeps getting better and better. When I focus on what's good today, I have a good day. When I focus on what's bad, I have a bad day. If I focus on a problem, the problem increases. If I focus on the answer increases. I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to reiterate the 4 things that I have to do to work this program. Is number 1, I have to turn to God for help. Number 2, I have to work the steps. Number 3, I have to be a member of the group Overeaters Anonymous. And number 4, never under any circumstances do I touch my binge foods. And anyway, thanks for letting me do my story, and I'll pass.